Well, you see, I had a little injury. How is being injured, particularly a head injury, different during a natural disaster? Remember, we're just coming off a hurricane. Let's talk about it. Welcome, everyone. I'm Mark. This is the Average Me channel. And today we're going to talk about my experience in a makeshift emergency hospital. Um, Something really weird happened to me yesterday. You can see I have a gash here. I don't know, maybe 2.5 inches across. It took about 6 or 8 stitches, I suppose, in order to sew me up. Let me tell you about the experience. First of all, you all know that my place of business where I work was uh, destroyed by the hurricane. I'll link the video here if you haven't seen that before. And we needed to continue, to move on, and we are bouncing back from the hurricane. So we went in the other day and we collected what we could, anything that was usable, anything that could allow us to continue to do business. And in the process, we loaded up my boss's car. She has a SUV, with the hatchback that comes up, and we were emptying things out. And I saw something. I was on the passenger side, and I saw something on the driver's side that would be accessible from the uh, door, the rear driver's side door. So I was starting to go around the back of her vehicle. At the same time, she pressed the button for the hatch, and the hatch started to come down. And you can guess what happened. Bam, I collided with that. Man, I hit hard, and it just opened up my head. And if you're squeamish, jump ahead about 30 seconds right now, because I'm going to show you a few pictures. So if you know anything about head wounds, they bleed, and they bleed bad. As a matter of fact, back in the old days, I don't know if they do this anymore, but in professional wrestling, they used to hide little razor blades like in tape or wristbands or that sort of thing. And they would just give themselves a little cut in the forehead, and mixed with sweat, that blood would pour down. It looked like they just had a tremendous injury. And if you look at those old wrestlers, you see a lot of scar tissue up in the forehead. So anyway, fortunately, we were relatively close to the hospital. And I'm holding my head like this, trying to keep all the blood in, and blood is going over my boss's the inside of her car and on her seat. She had a white leather seat. Anyway, we got there, and I stepped out, and I took my hands and went like this, and a puddle of blood just poured out of my hands were like covered in blood. It was disgusting. I mean, it looked a lot worse than it was, I suppose. But I'll show you a couple of quick pictures here. This is after I was sewn up. And here's a picture of my hands. Now, my hands, this is after they were washed. Let me tell you a little bit about the facility. The hurricane knocked out just about everything in Fort Myers, and that's we were up in Fort Myers. And as a result, they still don't have water, and they still have a boiling water. They instituted the boiling water measure up there in Fort Myers for the people that do have water. Well, the hospital can't operate without water. So they were having an evacuation of a couple of the hospitals there. So what they had was a temporary facility, very much like a MASH unit. Remember that old TV show and the old movie MASH? It was very much like that. I'll show you some pictures here. So it was a mobile hospital. And I got stitched up, not by a doctor or a nurse. I got stitched up by a medic. And they were doing things like, they cleaned out the wound properly with saline, but the other areas, they used bottled water to clean up around the areas that weren't actually the wound. I thought that was interesting. I was laying down on a canvas cot, just a fold up canvas cot. That's what the conditions were like, because you just have to care for people. I felt very guilty even going into the hospital under these adverse conditions. But my kudos and thanks go out to those hardworking individuals. I think Governor DeSantis did a great job. He brought in help from other places. This particular team was from New York, and thank you so much for helping me out there. And as you can see here in the pictures, this is basically a tent city that is operating as not the entire hospital, but portions of the hospital. And that's where I was taken. And as you go around the city, you'll see lots of Red Cross and lots of emergency personnel, both from in Florida and outside Florida. So I have, as I said, about a half a dozen, maybe a few more stitches up here. He said to me initially, well, I'll put a few staples in. And I said, wait, hold on. Staples sound really like field medicine, you know? So I said, what is going to leave more scarring? Because I don't have much to look at, but I know I don't want a really big scar front and center if I don't have to. So, you know, they admitted, well, yeah, sutures will leave less scarring. I said, stitch me up. And they said, it'll take longer. I said, that's fine. And so it took a little time. And it was kind of interesting because throughout this suturing process, the guy's supervisor or commander or whoever kept coming by and he kept explaining to him ways to do sutures. I thought, how many sutures has this guy done? But I put my faith in it. I think that he did a good job. But we'll know in a few days when they come out and we'll see how well I healed. And I know there's stuff that you can put on scars as well, visible scars, in order to reduce the scarring. So I'm going to look into that as well. But I just thought that I would share a little bit about that because it was such a unique experience that, you know, they're going to help people however they can provide help. And if that means it's going to be a mobile unit, that's how they're going to help them. And it was a interesting experience for me to be in a tent on, you know, an aluminum and canvas cot being sutured together by a medic. That was quite an interesting experience. That particular individual also told me, he said that he was in med flight and he did that over 15 years. So he was in thousands and thousands of med flights. And, you know, that was interesting. I think it's really great when people like that keep you talking because I know what they're doing. The intent is to distract you away from the injury by continuing to have conversation. And that was quite interesting. He even told me I probably shouldn't repeat that. He probably shouldn't have either. But he told me about a time when he did you know, a flight with a injured celebrity, someone who you'd all know. You probably all know about the injury he was talking about as well. So anyway, I thought the whole thing was just fascinating. And my thanks go out to everybody that is doing the best they can. You know, the police and fire department and rescue personnel and Red Cross and people coming from the outside and Governor DeSantis and everybody, the mayor of those cities up there, Fort Myers and Cape Coral. I think they're all doing a great job. And I was just you know, a small little piece. I was a recipient of all that goodwill. So that's it. I thought you might find this experience interesting. Thanks for joining me as always. I encourage you to like and share the videos. Leave your comments down below. If you haven't already, please subscribe by clicking my face in the corner. Don't forget to ring that bell icon. That way you'll know when I post new videos. Thanks for joining me. I'm Mark, and this is the Average Me Channel.